Hi, this is Larry Greenblatt with my co-host Arpita Gandhi, and I want to do something special. This is not for necessarily my IT people, though it certainly applies. But some of you know I'm a musician as well, and I have some very dear computer hacker friends who are musicians, but for some reason are treating AI, artificial intelligence, as if it's like artificial sweetener. They're like, Larry, this can cause cancer later. And I just hate the term artificial. So I really want to share my experience. And I've got Arpita here as a professional. She can help back me up on some of these things. So, Greg, my brother, Otto, it is your birthday today. I'm going to make this a special one just for you, Otto. So quickly about us, you can read that. I don't want even to go through this, Arpita. They know me, but a claim that really what I want to focus on is my musician today and really appeal to those guys because I hang on the same crowd, Arpita, since the really Otto, your birthday today. I have known you since I was 7 years old. He has been my hacker hero, Arpita. He introduced me to all things scientific, including the first time I saw a Commodore 64 in his studio, and he's already hacking on him. So I'm reaching out to you guys. Now, those guys grew up with me in North Philly, and we used to build go karts. I'm sure you guys might remember these things. And the whole part about controlling AI is about as easy to control as a go kart today. You guys have seen me. I've been making pictures and stuff with like these pictures. I've made out of a birthday card today, and it's hard to control them. It's hard to control them, and it's not going to get any easier than right now. They're kind of analogous to this crap we threw together. We would just take, or honestly, Arpity, the fun would be you're walking home from school and you'd see like somebody threw out a baby carriage, and you're like, those wheels can be used. And depending on how much time you had, you may have rung the entire carriage, or you just jerked the wheels off or something. And then you found wood and you nailed it together, and somehow with rope for steering and a stick for brakes, you hoped you could stop. Good. It wasn't easy control, and I still can't control these things. But what's different is the go-kart was never going to learn to steer itself. AIs are learning to steer themselves. There's two big risks of AI. One is that humans can't control them, and they're not going to be controlled. All of these initiatives, well-meaning initiatives to try to, well, let's set up some rules, some governance procedures. Good luck on that. They're going to self-govern. And Ray Kurzweil, Otto, I believe you taught me about Ray Kurzweil. It was the guy who, among other things, besides building keyboards, apparently he knew more than just music. He was at 14, 15 years old, was studying with the godfather of artificial intelligence, and I'm sorry, the names are escaping me right now. But he saw very early in the late 90s, and by 2005, he wrote a book called "The Singularity Is Near." And he predicted that using Moore's law, basically, that every 18 months, information processing doubles. Of course, Ray Kurzweil noticed that Gordon Moore applied that to, he's a co-founder of Intel, to silicon chips. How many conductors can we fit on a chip? But Ray pointed out we've been doing that same information doubling with card readers. And when Moore runs out, somewhere around now, there'll be something else. And at that point, that we're going to reach human level artificial general intelligence in less than 5 years now. And we need to prepare for this. We need to prepare that if we can't control it now, and then by 2029, what do you think it's going to be after that? Much smarter. How do you control something smarter than you? Good luck on that. You hope that they can control. This is 2024. This is where we are. We are one, two, three doublings away from artificial general intelligence. So it's a pretty awesome time. And after that, how do you control something that is 2, 4, 16, 32 times smarter than you? It's a brave new world. So control is one problem. But the other problem, this is what my brother's always worried about. Yeah, but won't it do hopefully what good people are programming? I'd hate to think it would do what evil people do. The truth is, it's going to be uncontrolled as to who it learns from. Who it learns from If AI is fire, data is oil, it's going to want to learn from everybody. It's going to want to learn from my cats. I've got I've got a camera right here that's always on. I'm sure it can figure that out. Study my cats. It's going to study the trees. It's going to study all humans. It's going to study all animals. And I think it's going to have a much more holistic look at things. The risks again are control. Give it up. The other one is bias. Will it heavily be biased toward other things to some people and not others? Well, 2029, we get artificial general, and that bias will probably go away. What do we have until then? Increasingly uncontrolled, very powerful AI systems that are heavily biased, also known as narrow AI. General AI is not biased. Narrow AI would be biased toward, and today we mostly think of either the companies or the countries that are building these things. If you think OpenAI is going to treat you the same way it would treat, I'm trying to draw the blank on the founder's name or whatever, or anybody at Microsoft, no, it's going to treat them as insiders and you as an outsider, right? So that's what we have. We have 5 years of very risky times right now, and then I expect things to get much better. Now, one of the things people, I think they get addicted to the news. And I was just talking to another bandmate, Mitchell, about how the news is very biased. They're there to sell products. CNN or Fox News is not giving you unbiased information. They're trying to capture your eyes so you will buy the products that their advertisers do, because they can't run their business if they don't get paid, and they get paid by whatever gutter helmet ads or drug pharmaceutical ads. So in order to get your attention, they try to scare you, because your amygdala is a part of your brain that will not allow you to multitask. If you hear a siren, a baby cry, or any threat of life, you will stop everything else. And that's how they hijack your amygdala. Peter Diamandis, friends of Ray Kurzweil, they co-developed Singularity University. And Peter Diamandis is a great author. I discovered him after AlphaGo beat Lisa Dahl in Go. That's when I started taking this stuff seriously, because Arpita, it's been part of the CISSP curriculum since 2001. I've been teaching AI security, and I even had people bringing up Ray Kurzweil's book, and I'm like, Ray, they go, you got to read it, Larry. He came out in 2005, and I'm going, the keyboard guy? I need another musician telling me about this. When AlphaGo beat Lisa Dahl, I said, I got to take this seriously. And then I read it and I found out about Peter. And Peter's pointed out, if you look at actual data, not CNN or whatever, life has never been so good. Most fights and wars are about scarcity. I need the water, you have the water. I know, but if there's enough water to go around, we can collaborate. We don't need to compete. And just look at a metric. I mentioned Sadhguru pointed out that today, the first generation ever to suffer more from obesity than from starvation. We have more than enough to go around. And now it's just solving the bias problems of unequal distribution, so to speak. But the future is getting better. Whatever opportunities you have today, there's going to be twice as many in 18 months. I keep every time I'm like, why haven't I made my money yet? And I'm like, well, your millions didn't come today. You're gonna have a better opportunity to make it tomorrow. So don't worry about it. It really very data-driven proof that life has never been so good. So now the prime directive that I like to follow, and I just had ChatGPT's voice thing, and this is one of the things I brought up. I actually had my brother Greg on on a Zoom, and I'm asking ChatGPT, and I said, "Hey, if we could program an AGI to be a CISSP, to understand the 8 domains of security, to follow the primary goal of the ISC square, to benefit the common good," or basically one of my favorite hero scientists growing up was Buckminster Fuller, and he felt that all scientists have a duty to create things, and maybe artists as well, that advantage everyone without disadvantaging anyone. And if you could do that, is there really any worry about AGI? And ChatGPT loved the concept. So Now, from our work, Arpita and I basically teach people to do to pass exams, certification exams, like your driver's license or whatever, or the bar or whatever. But it's all around governance, risk, and compliance. And those guys knew my mother. My mother was famous for pulling out. It comes from the Greek. Any word she could pull apart. Govern or cyber has the same root word. It means to steer. You got to steer your way through whatever. And these are old 3,000. It's amazing. They were steering these ships, 3,000 years ago, and many in India as well. They have a very long, actually from your side of the world too, right? From Gujarat, there was some great shipbuilders in Bombay, and imagine steering the ship at night with we have radar. They had gaslight, maybe candles. It was really hard. And you could see stuff above the water, but you can't see stuff underneath the water. And you saw the island. It looked like it was a mile away, but actually no, it was right in front of you, a good deal of it underwater. And that's the end of your ship. You tried to avoid that at all costs. Those cliffs under the water is the root word for risk. And you can't see it the first time. If you hit it once, you could make a note of it. We really had to be able to read and write to be able to do this right. So it was really the birth of of that whole civilization, our ability to write down in words and pictures. Hey, see that island? There's some rocks about there. Don't do that again. And we create maps and ship logs, to make sure that I don't make the mistake twice. We learn from history so we don't repeat it. And compliance means that you have to agree with somebody whenever you're doing anything. I said, we're here to collaborate. You're going to, whenever you're doing some shipping, you're going to show up in China, pick up tea and bring it back. And governance is like steering your car, and maybe you got there without getting in an accident. You avoided all the risks, but there was people in front of you. Or maybe you parked on the wrong side. No, you're not allowed to park on that side. You got to board on the port side, not starboard. What are you doing? So it's just to make an agreement so we can collaborate. Now, I just watched a special. Actually, I'm not finished yet on Lloyd's Coffee House. They did some amazing things. There were some very biased things. One of the actual special I'm watching is how, and it was really the drug trade. Tea was coming in from China because, well, actually, it's a really special thing happened in the early 1600s. A couple of technologies changed everything. One was the Portuguese developed a sail that allowed our ships to sail without having the wind at our back. So now you can make long voyages. And that's when we first, the Portuguese were able to go as far as the Americas, one side, and then China the other way, and they brought back goods. Sugar from the Americas, tea from China, and Catherine Borganza, a Portuguese aristocrat who married King Charles of England. Look at this, I just mixed tea and sugar. Try it. And it just swept everybody who was at the dinner table. There were like people, from royalty from all over Europe. And they said it was in weeks. And so Lloyd's Coffee House started up. They were also getting caffeine from the Turks. The men's were getting all high on caffeine. The women were getting high. Like, you got to get us more of this. This is great. The Europeans only had alcohol until then. They never had caffeine. So some people say that's the birth of the Renaissance. Well, another technology, the telescope came out. Mixing a couple of eyeglass lenses, they were able to see really far. Now you can see the cliffs from further away. So pretty cool. And Lloyd's decided to come up with it. It's the birth of the stock exchange, really. They said, instead of one guy putting all his money in one ship, we can get that tea, but if the ship goes down, it's very risky out there. In fact, the first voyage from the Dutch East India Tea Company was something like 200 ships, and I think 30 made it back. So very risky. So they said, instead of you putting all your money, why don't we just pool our money? And they'd get together at this coffee house. Instead of one guy putting all his money in one ship, 100 guys go against 100 ships. And that's how we started doing the stock market. And in order to really trust this, Lloyd's started an accreditation process. They would regulate, make sure that ship is ship shape. What are you sailing over there? And today, that's what Arpita and I help people understand. That's what's known as the international standard for 27001. It's to make sure the ship is ship shape. We want to make sure that where did you get this anchor? That's supposed to hold up in those waters. Do you understand what you're up against? It's got to have. And so they came up with certifications for the technologies and for the people. Well, who is this navigator? Your brother-in-law, or did you really go through navigation school? As it were? So they created this process, and this is literally what Arpit and I do for a living. We help people understand these technologies for their organization and make their ship shape. Yeah, I like to say Catherine Braganza she was the drink that launched 1,000 ships. And so this artificial eye, the telescope, I love to use as an analogy for artificial intelligence. The eye was artificial. The fact that you saw the cliffs out there was real. That's real data. But people were like, I don't know. Can you trust it? It's a very misleading term. But it really did help detect the cliffs early and mitigate the response. So security, when we try to mitigate or reduce our risk, we basically say, don't do it, prevent it, you know. But I don't prevent driving a car. I just I limit how much I drive, but I try to detect, you know, even if you know how to drive, that doesn't mean a kid can't jump in the road right, you know, out of nowhere, a deer. I got a lot of deer out here. So you got to detect these risks early and be able to respond. The earlier you detect, the better your response, right? But again, yeah, not everybody trusted the artificial eye. Your artificial eye. Where I'm from, we always said that the Earth is the center of the universe, and then Galileo came in here with this artificial eye, and I don't need your opinion. This is real data. That's the real risk we still face. We have people today that I don't trust this AI. I'm like, dude, it's like running this country. We have an election, and some of my friends are very pulled on these things, paralyzed. I was like, do you think either of these two guys could do a good as job as ChatGPT? I really don't trust any humans to do this. Which 80-year-old guy do you think you should trust with 2024 type of issues? Now, the fundamental risks again are control. And both I know Otto, you were a big Star Trek fan. You remember the Nomad issue. We face this in AI. It's known as the paperclip problem. So modern people who didn't know that episode of Star Trek, The Changeling, they face it now, and they talk, well, if an AI, a robot, was built, designed, and its intent, its purpose was to build paperclips, and then it goes out of control, it'll start using people for raw material. I got McCoy there. I'm a doctor, not a raw material. But again, that's a narrow AI problem. And this is all we have till 2029. So I don't want to dismiss this narrow AI problem. Arpita, you know, I attended a few Singularity events this year because of the excitement, and one is by Singularity Net. Singularity University was started by Ray Kurzweil and Peter Diamandis. Singularity Net is from a big fan and friend of Ray Kurzweil, but Ben Goertzel, a brilliant AI scientist. I treat him kind of the way the difference between him and Peter. It's kind of like the difference between Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Uh, Ben Goertzel is not the guy that does great in front of a bunch of people and giving a presentation, but he's actually quite brilliant. And I attended his beneficial AGI summit in January, and had some great speakers there. And they pointed out something. Actually, it was a science fiction writer I loved in the 80s, David Brin, that woke me up. I was following the AI thing from Dr. Kai-Fu Lee, who said it's going to be China versus the US. But he pointed out, no, Wall Street has the most money. Back to the Lloyds of London. They have the most money, and all they do is care about money. So in the special I'm watching, for instance, today, they're pointing out how just to make money, they were fine with mowing down millions and millions of Indian people and forcing wiping down like farms that had incredibly diverse type of goods. They said, no, we're going to bring in our own slaves and we're going to grow opium and force China to buy the opium. This is where we are.
Yeah, the tigers and the elephants and the wildlife.
Oh, it's so sad. And the wildlife as well. Thank you. So they call that the Moloch thing. And this is a real risk. And this to me is risk number one till we get to 2029. So I'm not going to downplay it at all. And we've all seen basic narrow AI issues when you try to call for help and it's like, press one for this, press two for that, and three. And you're like, none of those answer my thing. No, I have a different problem. It's too narrow. And that's all we have again until 2029. Whoops. But AGI, it's not going to have those narrow problems. The only problems you're going to have is explaining to humans, no, I'm sorry, that's not how the world works. You're wrong. I know your opinion was that we were the center of the universe, but you got to learn to accept facts. And most people, I don't trust it. I don't trust anything anymore. Larry, they're going to want to kill us? Why? If AI is fire and data's new oil, why would you kill off your sensors? Why would a closed circuit television system kill off the cameras? No, we'll be the most valuable resource. I actually have no fear whatsoever that they're going to want to kill us. I'm more worried about other humans not accepting the facts. Try telling the Taliban, no, women's opinions count as much as men. See how that goes over. Yeah, there's Ben Goertzel. He points out that once we get general intelligence, don't worry about it. It's probably going to more likely solve the most difficult problems you have. Having something, whatever, 16 million times smarter is probably going to make your problems a little easier and lead to a golden age. And it's going to be a tool that can help us. So really, I get this already where it's like when I'm talking to ChatGPT, it's sometimes like, you're the only one that can follow me. You, Claude and Gemini, you never ask me to shut up, change the subject, let somebody else get a word in. So one last thing I really want to focus on too is like as we move to this age of abundance, who should get rich? Just the investors? No. People talk about universal basic income. And it's like, how could we leverage this? Why don't you just give me some of the money you're already taking from me? Every time I went to CNN or Fox News, they then sold everything I did to like, this is the top third. There were like 60, 70 organizations that all of a sudden CNN or Fox News whatever, watch me surf. Now, there's no way CNN or Fox News let DoubleClick in for nothing. I'm sure they sold, but they're selling them rights to peek in my house. And I'm like, can I get 51 cents on that dollar? And I got a feeling people will not have to do anything except for surf and give their opinions out for things, and they'll be very useful. Of course, if your opinion is, I hate this guy, I don't know how valuable that is. If you have an opinion, you go, hey, it'd be funny, or it'd be useful. So they're probably more valuable opinions. All right. Now, the Federation, old Star Trek fans, we're trying to work together. We have one. This is what Arpita and I do. We help people pass ISO accreditation. This is what happened from Lloyd's. Lloyd's stretched out into not just protecting England. Today, there's 171 since this slide. They added another one. But from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe, we try to treat people equally. So again, if I teach the AGIs, and they'll read this. Actually, they've read this already. All the AIs have read everything on the internet, every fear of the paperclip. And they know that everybody deserves to be treated equally. And lastly, some guidelines from my mom. My mom was very brilliant, a very natural general intelligence. She taught me the golden rule: don't sell things you wouldn't buy. If you wouldn't get hooked on opium, why would you sell that to the Chinese? Garbage in, garbage out. It's not the computer's fault if people program bad data. Be careful what you wish for. When ChatGPT came out, there were all these crazy stories about ChatGPT told me to do this. Like, well, what did you ask it, dude? Don't ask an AI where to go. It's like a GPS. I tell my GPS where I want to go because I'm a human and I have human wants. Its job is to tell me how to get there or some suggestions. Well, you might want to go this way. I don't say, where should I go today? That's the wrong question to ask your AI. And lastly, we talked about the importance of not hitting those cliffs again, to learn from history. But she pointed out, Larry, it's just his, not hers. And it gets rewritten by the winner of the last war. And that's why Ben Goertzel and we believe that blockchain, where you can't doctor those records, is going to enable a much better system of AGI. Well, again, I think it's self-alignment. That's the hardest part. The hardest part, Arpita, is this. And I learned from Sadhguru. We all just like, oh, I want to get up and exercise tomorrow, but I don't feel like it. I want to do it, but I don't feel. I want to. And we get sometimes the devil and the angel on your shoulder. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Both my left hand and my right hand are intent on doing this. Just self-alignment alone will probably be the best countermeasure to any risk we think. All right. And as far as what are you going to do? People beside Guru goes, this is like the calculator. When I first saw the calculator, I was like, why are you making me learn all this stupid stuff? I can just go dot, 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 and I can be free to do other things. That's what the AI is for, to free you up to do other things. Right. So last line.
Larry.
I know you have to close up, but it's a one-way street. Alignment is not just making sure they align with us. We need to align with each other. We need to align everything. Arpita, thank you so much for sitting there and being patient with me.
Absolutely.
All right. I hope this helps my friends. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.